You said this in your book. You said our biggest problem is our small view of God. You want to build on that?
Yeah. G.K. Chesterton said that how much happier we would be, how much more of us there would be if the hammer of a higher God could smash our small cosmos. So on a practical level, show me the size of your dream and I'll show you the size of your God. I think a lot of us, um, well, here's what happens. God created us in his image. We've been creating God in our image ever since.
100%.
And so we kind of downsize who God is. Newsflash, he doesn't exist within the four dimensions of space-time he created, much less the logical constraints of my little left brain that God is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And so, even the word holy, it kind of means in a category by himself, that
Yep.
God is other. And I mean, my take is if you read the Bible cover to cover, Jim, there's one undeniable, inescapable, incontrovertible conclusion. God is God, and I'm not.
Yep.
And I think there are a lot of people walking around with a pretty big ego who think they know more than God. The more the more you know how much you don't know. And so part of what I'm arguing for is just, I promise you, God is bigger than big, but good news, he's closer than close. He knows the hairs on your head. He collects your tears in his bottle. Your name is tattooed on the palm of his hand. Oh, and one more thing, he's gooder than good.
Yeah.
That his will is good, pleasing, and perfect. So I'm really hoping and praying because, some of us grow up maybe with church hurt, or we grow up with a fear-based idea of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I want us to rediscover the God who smiles, the God who rejoices over us with singing. Newsflash, God is in a good mood. And I think that's a God that is so easy to fall in love with. And I think that is the God of the Bible. And I'll be careful here. I'm not denying, listen, I promise you, all of sin and fallen short of the glory of God.
100%.
All of us have issues. We have problems. I bet I'm as messed up as about everybody listening, but his grace is sufficient and his mercies are new every morning. And so I think it's before original sin, there was original doubt. And
Yeah.
if you read that Genesis story carefully, what the enemy is doing is the seed of doubt that God might not be as good as what you think he is, that he might be holding out. Why did he say you don't have access to this one tree, while in fact you have access to thousands of other trees, and he actually has your best interest at heart? I think it's about rediscovering that God who's gooder than good. A.W. Tozer said it better than anybody. He said, what comes to mind when you think about God is the most important thing about you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think some people, their image of God is just a reflection of maybe an earthly father that was flawed, or kind of a human construct instead of the God of the Bible. And what we have to do sometimes is unlearn some of those untruths about who God is, and then rediscover that God who is bigger than big. So just practical questions. Is God bigger than your biggest mistake? Is God bigger than your biggest problem? Is God bigger than your biggest dream? Is your God getting bigger and bigger, or is your God getting smaller and smaller? And that's where when David says, let us magnify the Lord together, I think it's this idea of rediscovering the magnitude of God. Because when God said, let there be light, those four words are still creating galaxies at the outer edge of the universe. The universe is God's way of saying, look at what I can do with four words.
Yeah.
Well, if God can do that with four words, what are we worried about? But we trust him for the big things. Sometimes we have a little bit harder time trusting him for the little things. And as you alluded to earlier, Jim, it's easier for me to believe God for a miracle for someone else than it is for me.